One important update in today's video, this Bitcoin technical analysis update, is the fact that we are not only below this macro 786 line, this is the bottom range for this Bitcoin bear market, at least as I see things, but we're getting ready to potentially, if we start zooming in on the daily and actually even the 6 hour, potentially fall into this second layer, this red layer of my 3-layered bottom range of this bear market. And I want to discuss and break down why I see this happening. And I really want to bring it all together. This is really an important update, especially as Bitcoin has grappled with this macro indicator, this yellow horizontal line that you see here on this chart. And I want to discuss what the free fall for Bitcoin might look like in this video. First things first, I want to go over here. Michael Saylor buys the Bitcoin dip again. This is obviously not the first time. In an SEC filing on Wednesday, MicroStrategy stated that between the beginning of November and December 21, the company purchased around 2,395 Bitcoin for approximately $42.8 million in cash. I wanted to chart real quick. What does this look like from a MicroStrategy perspective? They've been buying, right? We always see in the headlines, they're buying on the way down. They're buying in a bear market. It's kind of like a macro big money DCA, dollar cost average, is kind of what it looks like on this chart in a bear market. And I've been buying through the bear market, so I don't know where all my buys would be placed on this chart, but they've obviously been buying as well. Interesting to put it on the chart though, when we start zooming in on all of these little buys that they've made. I'll put a link in the description for this. This shows you every time that they've been buying. But here it is charted on this chart. And if you can see, we're going to break down this range in this video and discuss for potentially another leg down. The last leg down is really what I'm starting to eye up. But it's interesting now that MicroStrategy has made this buy in between November and December. For me, this is probably their best buy, obviously. I mean, buying up here back in May or even back here back in the beginning of this year, obviously we're way lower, cheaper. It's oversold at this point. Crypto is oversold. And as a reminder, everybody, zooming out on the macro, looking at the cycles of Bitcoin, we are in a very commonplace move, 400 days in from all-time high. It took 476 days to escape that yellow line back in the last bear market, and 693 days to escape that yellow line, the bottom range for Bitcoin. And if you're unaware, you know this bottom yellow range is a Fibonacci retracement. So let's zoom in now and start discussing where we are in terms of this story and what the leg down might look like. First things first, on the daily chart, I did mention in a video the other day, there's upward momentum. There's upward momentum in play for Bitcoin. The Bitcoin bulls, the charts, they have the momentum in play. It's a matter of if they're going to just run with that, even for just a mini bear market pump to test resistance, and so far they have not, and it's actually still in play. On the daily chart, what we were watching is this. Number one, what kind of resistance, as we zoom in here, and let me kind of get rid of this yellow. As we zoom in here, what kind of resistance at these moving averages? The confluent range of resistance right now for Bitcoin is insane. The 50-day moving average in blue up to the 786 line, around 2%, right in between these two areas, the 20-day moving average. So we're looking at a crazy range of resistance from around 16,800 up to around 17,150 or so. Now, Bitcoin, since I did the video the other day, has not broken any of that resistance. Actually, there's been resistance in the last day or so at the 20-day moving average, even most recently today, the 50-day moving average. You see these moving averages. These are huge moving average resistance areas for Bitcoin in this bear market, and for every crypto if you open up any crypto chart. Now, going over to momentum oscillators, the move is still setting up on all of these oscillators in terms of momentum, but it's getting a very fine line in terms of these higher lows on the slower moving momentum oscillator, this RSI here. And you can even see a little bit of a kind of leveling out here on the stock RSI, the quicker moving momentum oscillator, and then the MACD, which we noted before. You can see Bitcoin actually just struggling here. One thing to note before we dive into the 6-hour chart and look at the fall for Bitcoin into these ranges, the next range, the next layer, one thing to note on this chart, if you look, you can kind of see Bitcoin on this MACD kind of coming from oversold, the momentum cruising all the way since November, had kind of a similar move in the last macro look at this MACD chart. And you can even see Bitcoin doing something weird here for a second, even on the histogram, kind of similar to what's going on, a little bit indecisiveness of the bulls. More interesting, if you open up the chart and we go look at what Bitcoin was actually doing, you can actually see Bitcoin looking very much indecisive on the chart back then as it is right now, just kind of seeing resistance at these moving averages that we just looked at, and then boom, all of a sudden the bulls step in. The bulls stepped in, mind you, for just another lower high, and it was just lower high resistance. We fell to the downside. So to the upside, and you can see even a shorter term Fibonacci, it was resistance right at that green channel, the 786 to 618. So if we take that swing high to the most recent swing low, you can just see the setup, if bulls do step in, the setup to the move to the upside, right around $20,000 to the 786, 19,000 or so at the 618, that could prove to be massive resistance. I wouldn't get too excited if we do see a Bitcoin breakout, even above the 786. This could be another lower high before finally falling to end this bear market. And this is something I'm anticipating. But if Bitcoin bulls don't take advantage of the momentum that we just laid out, the case for momentum, I want to analyze and just look at the downside. The biggest thing for me is this. Number one, if we zoom in now on the short term, because this is what we're seeing on those even daily MACDs, the daily momentum oscillators like the RSI and stock RSI, we're seeing that Bitcoin is kind of hovering across a very fine line. And it's one little step away from failing support. And even on the 6-hour chart, it's very easily demonstrated. If you take kind of this last swing low on the 6-hour, and you can take the swing high to this crazy wick right here, you stretch this out, you have a Fibonacci and you see charted in green, or you can even just take it to this more solidified swing high right here. Either way, this Fibonacci retracement, very similar. Let me zoom in a little bit so we can see this. And Bitcoin literally in the short term, pretty much testing this Fibonacci support. This could be the moment of failure for Bitcoin if this support does not hold. If you want to zoom out a little bit and kind of get a little bit more in the midterm, that last line of defense still sitting in the same range of support, just a little bit larger. The swing low that we had in November, many people hoping this is the low of the bear market. I am absolutely not convinced. I think there's going to be another leg down. Swing low to swing high, you can see the range of support gets a little bit bigger in the Fibonacci channel. You can see the 618 sitting around 19 or 16.5, 786 sitting around 16.1. So yeah, some support down to 16.1 for the hopium enthusiasts. And to the downside, just to give you an idea what that looks like, we'd be looking at just a 3% range for Bitcoin is the fail-safe support. And if that fails, everybody, this is what I'm anticipating. If it fails, zooming out, even on the 6-hour chart, we could be getting that fall into this red range, and that red range kind of going into that $15,000, potentially below $15,000 range. And this, for me, is just a picture-perfect demonstration of just ever since we crossed below this yellow line that you see here, this bottom range bear market indicator, this sense of urgency for me is kind of, and this is why I'm watching the short-term charts, the midterm charts right now very intensely. The sense of urgency is growing for me in this bear market because I think it's absolutely running out of time. We just saw on this zoomed out chart, we're obviously still have a little bit of cushion of time and downward price movement, but both are running out. And for me, the bottom is getting very close. And I should have prefaced this entire video by just saying it really is based on what we see here in equity markets. This is the S&P 500. We've most recently hit this lower high resistance that we anticipated. And now we've just been watching its own moving averages on the daily chart. And you can just see S&P 500 kind of struggling right now. Is there any sign ahead that this chart is going to just make a power move to the upside? I'm not so sure right now. So if there's continued resistance at these moving averages, even if it makes a little move to the upside, resistance here, this could be the picture on equity markets of what the Bitcoin fall looks like on this 6-hour chart right into 15,000 and below, the second layer of this bottom range that I'm tracking for Bitcoin. This is everything I'm watching right now in terms of Bitcoin charts. All the while, we do have accumulators accumulating. Michael Saylor, MicroStrategy doing their thing. And I know a lot of people out there accumulating this bear market. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below, everybody. This is just an update today for Bitcoin today and its own technical analysis. And really, it's a nice illustration of what's going on all across the crypto markets. I hope you're doing well. Hit the subscribe, hit the like. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.